TIG are one of those partners that we work with.
Best partners.
One of the best partners we have. Thank you. Okay, so we're going to go through a couple of areas around Azure Sites Recovery. I'm going to dip into some of the related areas to that as well, just for a couple of slides, just to put it in context. So we'll talk a little bit about Azure Backup and also Azure OMS, which is the Operation Management Suite, so you can see the context of everything that's there. This is really underpinning some of the key things we talked about this morning. So we talked already quite a lot about security of your systems, the assumption that we need to A, protect the systems, but B, work out what we need to do once that protection has been broken. And also, secondly, about ease of use and reducing costs. So you see some of these themes come through quite strongly in what didn't. One of the reasons why this is quite close to my heart is because previously, before joining Microsoft, I worked in the channel myself, so I did a lot of multi-site deployments on-premise and between that and co-locations and other sites as well. So I'm fully on board in terms of disaster recovery and what that needs to deliver. And I think some of the numbers up here are very true, that historically disaster recovery, and on top of that some of the people and processes you need to wrap around that to really achieve true business continuity is not a cheap business. Running into a colo data center or having your own second data center is a costly proposition to keep up and maintain. And as George mentioned earlier, that if you're in that position today, there are some significant cost savings that can be realised by having a look at site recovery as an alternative to that. One of the other things that's almost more expensive than having an expensive disaster recovery policy is having one that doesn't work for you. So there's multiple companies out there today who have replicated data to a second place and assume that's going to be their disaster recovery. Also those who have backup tapes shipped off to Iron Mountain or elsewhere. And again, if anybody's gone to SunGuard, as I mentioned earlier, and tried to recover from tapes and recreate services and do that within a timely period, then actually going through that process is painful and the time to get those services up is very long normally. Okay? And it's one of those statistics that companies that do not recover from a site disaster within 2 to 3 days are very unlikely to stay in business past that point. I think the numbers are in sort of like 40% area. So there's definitely a need to do DR. We'll come on to some of the reasons for that. The bottom one is something I'm going to keep on coming back to a couple of times. Who here out of the audience currently has a DR capability in their operations? Okay. Can you keep your hands up if you have done a DR test over the last year? That's more than I expected. That's good. That must be all the people who are using Azure Site Recovery. Potentially so we'll come on to that, yeah. Shameless plug. We'll come on to some of this, but it's been my experience that a lot of companies have worked through having replication, having disaster recovery capability. Very few actually go through the process of testing that capability. Same with backup as well. Backing up to tapes is one thing. Being able to recover from them is better. Alright, this is a slide you may well have seen before. Obviously when you get a lot of conversations about disasters affecting sites, affecting your data centres, and everybody likes to talk about hurricanes and earthquakes and so on. The fact of the matter is we live in the UK, so we're not having data centres sitting on the San Andreas fault right at the moment. A lot more of the reasons that we have issues within specific sites is a lot more mundane. So take a couple of examples of customers that I've worked with in the past. I'm not going to name them. I had one which had 2 data centres either end of the same building. So I had a long building, 300 metres between the 2 data centres they had there, and they had a file break between it, and it was fully active data centre between them. They lost one of their data centres when their water feature in the foyer leaked and basically flooded one of those data centres. So that happened to them. So we'll put that in the flood column, but you could say it was more over here somewhere. I had another customer who also had a flood because their main office was in the floodplain, as was their DR centre. And actually what happened there is they had so little confidence in their DR capability that they ended up knocking down an ornamental wall outside the front of it and actually propping up some of the racks in their data centre on bricks, okay? Rather than failing over to the DR site because they just weren't confident that their failover was going to work effectively. And likewise, we are still susceptible to certain things. I had another company back in 2005, for those of you who remember it, the Huntsfield disaster, Hemel Hempstead, lost their main office there. It was actually just the metal struts that went through the concrete pillars that was left in that building. And again, they've gone for a cheaper DR policy, which they hadn't been maintaining over time and was failing for them. And the UK operation actually shut down as a result of that fire. Okay, so we're all seeing common challenges within this. DR is not fun to do for a lot of people because it's been quite difficult to do, and it's quite difficult to prove that it's going to work for you effectively as well. And one of the main issues around DR policies is that testing those within DR can affect your production estate as well. So if you have a normally synchronized SAN-based array going from one site to another, then being able to fail that over and test that your applications come up, your services come up, you've got the networking available to you is difficult. There'll be some of you in the room who are using VMware, so maybe using Site Recovery Manager to do that kind of testing. That's really helpful in that area where you're just dealing with VMware and you're dealing with virtual machines there. But we'll be talking about some of the capabilities within Azure Site Recovery, which allows you to do that for a wider range of functionality. On that point, so there's another project I was involved in, which had $1 million worth of professional services around it, and it's a financial company, and the whole thing is around getting that DR capability, actually getting business continuity capability. So we worked on people and processes, alternative buildings to actually house the people in case the first site went down. We had all the procedures proven as to what needed to be done, documented new technologies going into there. At the end of the project, they didn't actually test it. So again, it comes back to the point that it's always money is invested in all the technology and so on. But again, the impact on production was so great to actually test at that point that they took a business decision within the project board that the documentation was going to be good enough. Okay? So again, if you want that level of assurance that your business will continue in the event of something happening, you have to question whether or not that's going to be good enough for you. Right. So this is some of the areas where Azure is looking to help ease the pain for providing that level of disaster recovery. So it's really aimed to protect any platform regardless of the location. We'll talk some of the flexibility around the sources that we can use to ingest the data into Azure, the systems that you can protect with that, and the range of operating systems as well. There's also support for Microsoft. This will be focused around Microsoft's Azure Site Recovery. There are other disaster recovery options as well as backup options. So if you look at the marketplace within Azure, you'll see a wide range of things there. In fact, TIG themselves have got an offering within there for certain list backups using Azure. We'll talk about the RPO and the RTO. Is everybody comfortable and familiar with RPO and RTO in the room? Good, I'll take that as a yes. All right.
Can you talk through this, Dick?
Absolutely. So they're standard terms in terms of when you do have to fail over, what level of cover you have in terms of the protection of your systems. So if at the point of a disaster happening, so that's noon today, a couple of minutes time, the RPO is really your recovery point. So it's how much data has been replicated over. So if you have synchronous replication at that level, you'll have an RPO of 0. So everything on the DR site is fully up to date. So most financial companies and certain transactional systems will be looking for an RPO of 0. So every single transaction is confirmed at both sides and therefore protects that point. On the other side of that, for those who have asynchronous replication or have the information drip fed from one side to the other, then the RPO might be 30 seconds, it might be 5 minutes, it might be 15 minutes, or something. So again, we'll talk about the RPO, for those who are taking daily tape backups, is between 24 and 48 hours. So if you're looking at that point in time, then basically if you had an issue and you had to resort to tapes, then that's the kind of RPO you're looking at. RTO is the other side of that line. So once everything blows up at noon, is how long does it take to then resurrect those systems to get to the point where you've got them available internally and more importantly externally to your customers or to your internal users. So if that takes you 3 days to restore systems from tape and to rework DNS and move everything over, then that is your RTO period. So really we're looking at both of those metrics to say how much data are we in danger of losing, what's the level of risk or exposure we have there, is that something we can tolerate, and how long will it take us to resume those services back. So this is really about how much can we shorten both of those to make sure the business continuity delivers what it needs to deliver. Does that answer your question? Yep. All right. So I'm just put out a couple of things around what OMS site recovery is there to do. There's really a number of pillars around what it's there to do. One is it's designed to be heterogeneous. This is not designed for Windows. This is not designed for Hyper-V. It does those brilliantly. But it will also deal with VMware. It will deal with other cloud providers. It will deal with Linux servers. And it will deal with physical servers. So you've got a wide range of systems that can be protected with this. It's also not just looking at the physical infrastructure or the virtual machines themselves, but the applications within those. So for those particularly sitting on Windows where you can use the volume shadow copy services to get that application awareness of what it's backing up, then it means that it's aware of file systems, open files, it's aware of databases like SQL, SharePoint, Exchange, and make sure that the synchronization you have there is application aware and application consistent. For those of you who've ever had an issue with a server where you just take the power out the back of it, I suggest you do that when you go home. That will be a crash consistent state. There will be data in flights, there will be data in cache, there will be operations which are moving through memory on that server. The VSS framework is there to basically talk to the server to make sure that all the information is quiesced, i.e. the applications know that it needs to be backed up and are writing data to disk to make sure that everything is being replicated in the way that it should be replicated. So it's all part of that. All right, we'll talk about the one-click orchestrated recovery and the testing and some of the functionality that you can use from a business perspective for that. Remote health monitoring is also one of the other key things. In terms of insight into how the operations are going, that's one of the great features of Azure is that everything's built for that hyperscale, high-level management, so you get the insight into the operations and the protection of your services and the systems that underlie those is part of that. So there are probes and there's reporting, so you've got the traffic lights to make sure the health of that replication is working as it should do. All right. Going back to the lack of friction around deploying this is also a very easy system to deploy. How many of you are actually familiar with the Azure portal and have worked through that? Good to see a good number of them. When you go into this, basically Azure Site Recovery and Backup come as one grouping, so it's protection of systems. So you go in there and you create the recovery vault, and it gives you options as to what you're then protecting and how you're protecting it through to. It also has some great documentation. So if you go to azure.microsoft.com, go into documentation in different areas, then it has some fantastic information about support matrices and how you back up different systems. And it also has built into the deployment via the portal a load of prerequisite checks to make sure that you're stepping through and doing the right deployment steps for that, automated installations, and ensuring that you're at the right point for a successful installation. So it's basically guiding you and holding your hand as you go through the whole thing. It's excellent from that point of view. The other key thing is that this is a SaaS-based offering. So as part of that, you are not doing upfront capital expenditure costs around software, around hardware. This is a consumption-based model where you are paying for protection of individual instances and the storage that consumes the file side. Okay, so again, we'll go through some of the pricing as well. All right, again, this is very much policy-based in terms of how it's doing, so in line with the level of bandwidth you're looking to go for, you can specify your RPO threshold, retention points you're having, and the application consistency, and apply that across the whole board for the different applications you're protecting. For those of you who need very short RPO times, if you want to get down to 30 seconds for the RPO there, and maybe having more retention periods, you can then look at the bandwidth of your systems. And is everybody here familiar with Express Routes? Okay, so you can leverage Express Route, which is a private link between your systems and Azure data centers, to basically make sure you have a higher level of bandwidth available to you and a lower level of latency to make sure you've got sufficient for replication traffic to go through. Having said that, the replication traffic for Azure Site Recovery and also the backup we'll talk about later is very efficient. There's compression, it's only moving across the data that's changed. So the way that it works is built to work as efficiently as possible. All right. So again, looking at the different options about what you can back up. On the left-hand side, we have on-premise. So it will happily talk to physical Windows and Linux servers. So it is only x86, it's not going to back up any Unix systems you might have. But in terms of all Windows and Linux flavors, we can tell you what's supported within that, and it's a wide range and it's a growing range. I think it's been apparent to most people looking at Microsoft over the last couple of years, the commitment to the open source community and the various different flavors of Linux you can have from that. And you'll see that coming through with the support for Red Hat, for SUSE, for the others as well. Obviously, it's going to deal with Hyper-V clusters, but we're fully aware there's a huge amount of VMware estate out there as well, and it will happily talk to VMware and ingest those systems as well, be able to back those up to each other. It's not shown on this slide as well, but it can actually also back up, replicate between Hyper-V instances, VMware instances, and physical servers to remote VMware and Hyper-V deployments as well. There's certain configurations that are supported there, so if you actually want to go from one of your physical sites to another physical site, but have Azure Site Recovery manage that and do some of the things we see around some of the orchestration and testing, then you can facilitate some of that. But really this is focused around making use of the hyperscale Azure cloud to get the best benefits out of backup. It will also do site recovery from AWS into Azure as well. So if you're looking for protection on multi-cloud policy, that will help there. We'll come on to migration in a second on that point as well. Finally, if you want to fully house some of your key systems within Azure, and we're seeing much more traction in that area at the moment, then region to region Azure Site Recovery is also now becoming available. So being able to replicate systems in, for instance, UK West to UK South, or from West Europe to another part of the world, is all facilitated. And that obviously is then leveraging the use of the Azure backbone to make sure you have that replication between different places. Any questions on that side? All right, so I'm just going to dip into one which is one of the more common ones we see, just to get a little bit more technical for a second. This is really about what then goes into different places, component-wise, to make that happen. So this is for backing up VMware deployments into the Azure cloud. And it makes use of a combination of a processing and config server down here, which is then talking to the vCenter and the underlying ESXi host, and interfacing with all the writes which are coming from those virtual machines into the underlying data stores within the systems, and replicates that data across the site recovered data channel over to the target server within Azure. You do not pay for this as an infrastructure as a service. This is just part of the whole offering because it is a PaaS/SaaS type offering. So there's nothing for you to see there. It's just part of the services delivered. All right. So I've touched on testing a couple of times. I think this is one of the key things. Again, there's very little point in doing site recovery unless you're going to have confidence that you can recover to that site. And this is really where this comes in. So it's built to spin up test environments within Azure based on the data that's been replicated over. It allows you to do a number of other functions into that as well. So it's not just for testing your failover plans to make sure that works, but we'll talk about some of the other applications you can use there. It is built around the whole procedure about testing that in isolation. So the way that that works is that it will spin up a whole new area, a virtual network, which is private to you. So you can use the same addressing on both sides. You can make sure you have the automation built around that with your runbooks and PowerShell scripting and everything else to customize the environment. And then that allows you to make sure you can test and bring up those systems, make sure you can set the order of the systems so that certain ones come up first, other ones come up later, and ensure that everything is available to you. Have your developers go in and make sure they can access the services as they expect to be able to access them. And then, once you're done testing, you can bring that whole lot down and make sure you're not being charged any money for it. So it's not like you are having a load of cold servers sitting in the DR site, which are just waiting there in case the worst happens. This is stuff you can spin up, pay for a period of time, and then bring that down again. Again, that's one of the benefits of using the public cloud for this. So as I mentioned earlier, and in fact James mentioned it before, when you are dealing with a system like Azure and managing something at hyperscale, automation and getting the benefits of that automation are absolutely key to this. And it's the same when you're bringing up your systems. You want to make sure that when you are taking them over, that anything you can do to automate something, to bring it up faster, to reduce down that recovery time objective is enabled with the automation within Azure. So we have both the workflows that you can have from Azure Automation themselves, plus hooks to come into PowerShell scripting to bring systems up. So if you need to do custom networking, or if you need to bring up certain services on certain servers, or if you need to affect the order, then everything will be managed within that. So it's fully flexible in terms of doing that. And again, it's one of the reasons for having the test capability on the DR side, so that you can test it, work out what's worked well, work out what hasn't, remediate that, test again. So you can continuously refine that so that when the worst happens, if the worst happens, then you're ready for it, rather than being caught out at that early stage. Okay, so again, this kind of highlights exactly how that looks, where you've got the application going through the replication service and then sitting with the replica within Azure, and then it allows us to essentially run the automation scripts against that and automate that into one of the dev test labs, which is protected, masked, and has restricted access, but you can still come in from the outside with specific developers and do your testing within that. So it enables you to test the servers within this and make sure that your automation is doing what it needs to do. Okay. Again, with traditional SAM-based site-to-site replication, this is not something that is easy to do and would impact on your production. So this is a major, major benefit. Okay. Other good news is that the availability of Azure Site Recovery is growing wider, and so I've put up some nice little gold stars for the new sites which came online on February the 13th. Importantly for the people in this room, it now extends to the UK data centres. So obviously we've had a EMEA-based data in West Europe and also North Europe, but now that's been extended into UK data centres themselves. And just to finish off on that, right. One of the other benefits for us, we see as part of the same level of functionality that you get from Azure Site Recovery, is that it is our fundamental methodology for migrating systems into Azure as well. Okay. So to take it at a very raw level, if you have something which has been protected as your source, replicated over to Azure as your target, then that replication is failed over, so it's then going the other direction, and then we switch it off. Your primary system is now in Azure. Okay. So in the same way that you do your development testing and bringing your systems there, it's a question of then making those tested systems within Azure the live systems. And it's the way that we convert from AWS, from VMware, so that anything you have in different virtualized formats automatically gets put through that sausage machine as part of the system and gets converted into an Azure compliant virtual machine format. So you have the ISVMs at that level. Right. And this is something that our partners, such as TIG, can help you with. So in terms of planning the infrastructure, working out how to get that replication working and tested in there, it enables you to have that level of confidence around everything that's sitting within Azure for what you currently have on site. And if you then want to make the jump so that actually your primary systems are in Azure rather than just being protected by Azure, it gives you the possibility to then fail over and stay failed over. Okay. Break the replication, make that the live system. And you won't be surprised to hear that we offer this for free. So in terms of the Microsoft cost for this, I imagine that TIG would like to charge something for their assistance in anything you do around this area. I would. But in terms of the ingestion of the data and using the software tools, then everything is free from the Azure side. And like I say, rather than taking that leap of faith with both feet that you do with most normal failovers, you have the confidence and the assurance of having gone through that testing phase of bringing up that test migration over there to make sure that you're happy that everything works before you then make it live. So you know that when you flick that switch at the final moment, that you're going to do so with confidence. And if you're not already familiar with it, there's another great global feature from Azure called Traffic Manager, which is a global DNS system, which is load balancer at that point. So you can use that to point to your current systems, and then the right point, change the order within Traffic Manager so it's now pointing at the Azure instance instead. So it's pointing to different endpoints, but it's now switching over that way. At the bottom, who here is familiar with hybrid use benefit? Good. All right. We've got some good news for anybody who's got software assurance. Anybody here got enterprise agreements or software assurance on their existing licenses? So you're probably aware today that you have the rights to a number of virtual machines on your physical Windows Server deployments in-house. You can actually transfer some of those rights to Azure, so your Windows virtual machines within Azure essentially halves the licensing cost for Windows 7 within that. Okay, so the cost of your VMs halves within Azure. That only applies to Azure, doesn't apply to any other cloud vendors out there. But if you want some more information about that, then again, just look up Azure Hybrid Use Benefits. We'll send out some links afterwards if you want to see again how this can help bring down the cost of migration to Azure. Right. Just to give you a feel for the pricing, everything you see here is current pricing. Everything can move. The first thing to note is that everything's based on instances, so it's all the virtual machines or physical servers that you're protecting. You can test this for free for 31 days, absolutely no cost whatsoever to do that. Not only that, if you then start adding to the number of systems you're protecting, that applies not just to you using site recovery, but to each new instance you introduce. So when you go, if you're doing 10 and you bring the number 11 and 12, those two won't be charged for the first 31 days. And then it's just a charging price for per instance per month after that point. So I'll put in the dollar pricing because frankly the numbers round off a little bit easier. It's $25 per instance for backing up, for replicating systems into Azure in that way. The other costs you need to be aware of are around the storage themselves. So just to give you an indication of the storage per gig per month, you can see it's ever so slightly more expensive for the UK, but it's pretty essentially marginal there. And there's also data rights and data retrieval costs within that as well. Yeah, that's right. Everything that's priced up there is based on locally redundant storage, so it's based on 3 copies of data within an individual region. If you want to have that as geo-replicated storage as well, so it's in 2 of our regions, then essentially everything goes up. Like I said earlier, essentially protection of your systems, disaster recovery, and backup are part of the same sphere for us. So you need disaster recovery to protect from the worst happening. You need backups to restore from issues happening against your data. And that might be something that's been accidental, the system's been corrupted, or the file's been accidentally deleted, or you screwed up some data in your SQL system or something else. Or it might be malicious, it might be an internal user that's doing some damage, or you might be down to some ransomware has done something nasty to your systems and you want to get back to a point in time where that wasn't a problem for you. So obviously backup is again part of the same thing, and because it uses the same recovery vault for us, it's in the same sort of area. Now, again, this is another one of those entry points into Azure which has been massively popular over the last couple of years, and we're just seeing the usage of this ramping up all the time. And one of the reasons for that is that backups today using physical infrastructure, using tapes particularly, is painful and expensive and again difficult to manage. So as a way of reducing that reliance on tape backup, it gives you a lot of benefits in terms of making use of the cloud economics you get from a hyperscale cloud such as Azure. It's also, because we're Microsoft, fully integrated with everything around, again, Windows VSS, to make sure you get that application level consistency of what you're backing up there, particularly around SharePoint, Exchange, and SQL. It also gives you a number of different entry points for managing this, and we'll talk about this later. So if you're talking about individual systems, so if you've got a large proliferation of very small sites, maybe EPOS sites or something like that, or you've got branch offices with several servers within it, or you've got large data centers, there's different points which make sense to manage that at those different levels. One of the major benefits of using Azure as that backup store for your backups is that suddenly the retention periods become so much longer. Who here's got any retention periods of 7 years for their data? Okay. Anybody doing 12 years? Okay. Anybody doing longer than 12 years? I'll ask you how long you're doing.
25.
25 years. Okay. So one of the issues of using it, particularly tape, is the best way of storing off-site in terms of long-term retention. But the tapes you're backing up to today in 7 years, 12 years, 25 years time won't be the tapes that are being used. You know, if you go back 12 years from today, it's not LTO6 tapes that you're using, it's different types of systems. So there's a big onus on you in terms of when you're backing up to those kind of systems about refreshing it and making sure that you can use different software, platforms, and physical media, which allows you to restore from that. With this, that is not your problem. If Microsoft behind the scenes change the storage, change the format, and make sure you still have that level of service, because this is software as a service, then you'll be able to restore those now, in 7, 12, 25, or even over 100 years' time. So that is part of what's been delivered within this. So again, it makes hitting those regulatory compliances, making sure that you can restore from really old data, something that's not going to be an issue. I'm going to skip through this slide quickly because I've had the slide at the back already, and just focus on what's on the left here. So this is just about physical security around hypervisors and application side. This is really some of the Microsoft-specific backup products. So if you're looking at an individual server, you can just use Windows Server Backup. So like I said, if you have a proliferation of small sites, that is something you can use to back up to Azure. For those of you who've got System Center, how many of you within the room using System Center today? Just one? Just one. Then Data Protection Manager within that will be a central focal point for actually doing that disk to cloud type backup and orchestrating that. And it gives you the discovery and the dashboard for the virtual machines you have within the state, physical machines as well, and helps act as a centralized point for that. It also allows you, as you know, DPM will also allow you to back up to tape devices locally as well. Now there is a version of Data Protection Manager called Azure Backup Server, which is free. So you can download this, and it differs from Data Protection Manager in 3 ways. One, it isn't integrated with System Center, so you don't get that dashboard, you don't get that discovery, so you're basically entering all the backed up entities yourself. Secondly, it won't talk to tape. Okay. And thirdly, he says trying to remember, you need to back it up to Azure, so you need that Azure backup subscription. That's the only target we use. But if you want to back up, particularly mid-sized sites, or if you want to go all in with backing up to Azure, then that may be a real alternative for you. In terms of lockstep changes, that any changes which happen to Data Protection Manager as they expand the portfolio of what they support and how it works and new functionality and features will also go into Azure Backup Server. It will just be those 3 differences I've talked about so far which will differentiate it. Right, just touch on the efficiencies around this. It is, like I said, it is very bandwidth efficient. It's just looking at changes, it is compressing what sends through. But also in terms of security of the system, everything that's going through in flight between your data centers and into Azure is encrypted with 256-bit encryption. And you also have the option, when it lands, when it goes into those storage blobs, of having those storage blobs, those storage accounts also encrypted. So if it's important for you to have all or some of your data encrypted at rest and be able to prove that as well, again, that can be done. All right. And again, just to give you a feel for the charges, the ingress and the egress for this is free, so if you need to restore something, it's free. Again, pricing is based on LRS, and you can see here the instance charges within that. So for small systems, it's only $5 a month. For medium, up to 500 gig, which will cover a multitude of sins, I'd argue. Then it's $10. For anything larger than that, then basically you spend $10 per 500 gig, so it just ranks up that way. So nice and good. And again, in terms of the block storage per gigabyte in the 2 main regions that are important to us, based in the UK, then that's the same sort of pricing you've already seen before. Okay, so again, it gives you a feel compared to the level of investment of capital expenditure, and also in terms of operational expenditure, what you're possibly spending today on your backup infrastructure, what that can do for you. All right. Now, when James went through some of the slides earlier, he pulled up some screens from OMS, Operation Manager, and there's a session this afternoon which TIG are running around both OMS and EMS. What we have here is basically OMS is our SaaS provided platform for managing the operations around Azure functionality. It can talk to Azure, but because it's a SaaS offering, it can also talk to your on-premises environment, and it can also manage instances which are held on AWS. So it's designed again to be as efficient as possible. And it's really focused on 4 main areas. So it's giving you insights into your systems, giving you a high-level dashboard and the ability to then drill down into any issues that you have within your systems and give you recommendations on how to remediate those. We talked about the automation, and we could do a whole session around disaster state configuration, around some of the automation you can do with the ARM templates from Azure and what that can deliver. And we also talked about security and leveraging the centralized threat analysis that comes from Microsoft to better protect your systems than you're probably protecting them today. But really, the availability is what we've covered today. It is built into the owner suite, and you can buy the suite in those 4 separate sections. It gets financially beneficial to start lumping them together. That's what suites do. But the availability is really there to cover off on both the disaster recovery through Azure Site Recovery and also through Azure Backup as well. So you get the 2 different types of protection within that and the high level visibility through OMS about how that works. Okay? Hopefully that's given you a good overview for some of what Site Recovery can deliver, from that, again for Azure Backup as well, and also how this forms part of the bigger picture in terms of easing things around, easy deployment and the assurance around your systems and being able to prove that assurance. Done. Any questions? Okay. In that case, thank you.